The boardroom was high above the city. Glass walls. Bright morning light. A long polished table. Thomas Whitaker sat at the head of it. Age 52. Tall. Clean cut. Wearing a pale blue suit that fit him like confidence. Behind him sat three younger colleagues. Daniel aged 32. Mark aged 30. And Elena aged 28. They smiled politely. Waiting. And near the door stood a man no one had invited. His name was Isaiah Brooks. Age 68. Tall but slightly bent from years of hard work. His gray beard was full. His coat was worn thin at the elbows. His boots carried the dust of many sidewalks. A canvas bag rested on his shoulder. The receptionist had tried to stop him. But he had said softly, "I have an appointment with Mr. Whitaker. He is expecting my call." Thomas had looked up from the paper in his hand. Then he laughed. "Call whoever you want," he said with an easy wave of his hand. His voice filled the room. Light. Careless. Daniel chuckled. Mark shifted in his chair. Elena forced a small smile. Thomas leaned back, crossed one leg over the other, and added, "Call whoever you want." He held out his phone toward Isaiah, as if offering a toy. Isaiah did not move right away. He looked at Thomas. Not angry. Not ashamed. Just steady. For a moment the room felt too bright. Isaiah slowly took out his own old phone. The kind with small buttons. He pressed a number. His fingers were steady. His face calm. Thomas shook his head. Still smiling. "Go ahead," he said. "Call whoever you want." There was a pause. The only sound was the faint hum of air conditioning. And distant traffic far below. Then, a voice answered on the other end. "Good morning, sir." Isaiah spoke softly. "Yes. This is Isaiah Brooks. I am in the executive boardroom. With Thomas Whitaker." Thomas straightened just a little. Isaiah continued. "They are asking who I would like to call." There was another pause. Then Isaiah said, "Yes, sir. I will put you on speaker." He pressed a button. A deeper voice filled the room. Clear. Authoritative. Recognizable. "This is Chairman Harold Whitaker." Thomas froze. His laughter stopped in his throat. Daniel glanced at Mark. Elena looked down at the table. The voice continued. "Thomas. I understand you are entertaining Mr. Brooks." Thomas felt heat rise to his face. "Father," he said quietly. "Yes," his father replied. "And Mr. Brooks is not just any visitor." The room felt smaller now. Isaiah stood still. Eyes forward. No smile. Harold Whitaker spoke slowly. "Mr. Brooks and I served together many years ago. When this company was only a warehouse with 2 desks. He lent me money when the bank would not. He worked nights without pay. He believed in something that did not yet exist." Thomas swallowed. His father continued. "Without him, there would be no boardroom. No skyline view. No polished table. There would be no Whitaker Industries." Silence settled heavily. Isaiah shifted his bag slightly. Still calm. Harold spoke again. "Thomas. You will treat Mr. Brooks with respect. He is here because I asked him to evaluate something very important." The line went quiet. Then, the call ended. Thomas remained seated. But something inside him had shifted. He looked at Isaiah differently now. Not at the coat. Not at the worn boots. But at the men. "Please," Thomas said softly. "Have a seat." Isaiah nodded. Slowly placed his bag down. And sat. The 3 colleagues avoided eye contact. For a long moment. No one spoke. Then Isaiah said gently. "It has been many years since I sat in a room like this." His voice carried no bitterness. Only memory. "I remember when your father and I shared sandwiches at midnight. He would talk about dreams. About building something strong enough to last beyond us. Thomas listened. The words did not sound like accusation. They sounded like history. Isaiah looked toward the skyline. Back then, we could not afford coffee. We drank water and kept working. He smiled faintly. Your father always said, success is not about who stands above others, but who lifts others along the way. Thomas lowered his eyes. He remembered being 12. Sitting in a small kitchen. Hearing his father say something similar. Before the company became large. Before the suits. Before the boardrooms. Isaiah turned back to him. When I walked in today, I did not expect applause. But I did expect recognition. Thomas felt a quiet ache in his chest. He had spent years climbing. Chasing numbers. Closing deals. Impressing investors. Somewhere along the way, he had stopped seeing people. I am sorry, Thomas said. The words were simple. But they were real. Isaiah nodded. That is enough. Daniel shifted in his seat. Elena looked up. Mark cleared his throat. The tension slowly softened. Isaiah reached into his bag. Pulled out a small worn notebook. Your father asked me to review your leadership transition plan. He said you are capable. But he worries you are moving too fast. Thomas gave a faint smile. He does say that often. Isaiah leaned forward. At our age. In our 50s and 60s. We learned something important. Time humbles everyone. Wealth fades. Positions change. But how we treat people, that stays. The room felt different now. Warmer. Isaiah continued. When I was your age, I thought strength meant control. Now I know strength means listening. Thomas breathed slowly. Outside. The city moved as it always did. Cars. Buses. People hurrying. Inside. Something had slowed. Thomas stood up. Walked around the table. And extended his hand. Mr. Brooks. He said. Isaiah. Thank you. Isaiah looked at the hand. Then shook it. Firm. Steady. No applause. No dramatic music. Just two men. In different seasons of life. Meeting in the middle. Daniel spoke carefully. Sir. Would you like coffee? Isaiah smiled gently. Black. No sugar. Elena stood to prepare it. Thomas returned to his chair. But he did not lean back this time. He sat upright. Listening. They spoke for over an hour. About early struggles. About missed opportunities. About loyalty. Isaiah told stories of the warehouse days. Cold winters. Long nights. Shared laughter. Thomas listened like a son hearing family history. At one point Isaiah said, your father always believed this company should have space for voices that are not always heard. The black voices. The quiet voices. The overlooked voices. Thomas nodded slowly. He thought of his own behavior earlier. How easily he had laughed. How quickly he had judged. Age has a way of softening pride. If we allow it. When the meeting ended, Thomas walked Isaiah to the elevator. The city light had shifted. Afternoon now. At the doors. Thomas spoke quietly. I will do better. Isaiah placed a hand on his shoulder. That is all any of us can promise. The elevator doors closed gently. Thomas stood there for a moment. Reflecting. He remembered his father coming home tired. Still smelling of oil and dust. Talking about partnerships. About trust. He had wanted success. But he had forgotten the foundation. Back in the boardroom. Daniel asked softly. Are you all right? Thomas smiled. Yes. I think I am. He looked at the skyline. And for the first time in a long while, it did not feel like a trophy. It felt like responsibility. Later that evening, Thomas called his father. Not about profits. Not about contracts. but about gratitude. Harold listened. Quiet. Then he said, "I am proud of you. For learning." And that simple sentence carried more weight than any quarterly report. As the weeks passed, changes began. Thomas started hosting listening sessions, inviting employees from every level, from maintenance staff to executives. He asked questions and truly heard answers. The laughter in meetings changed. Less sharp, more shared. Daniel noticed. Mark noticed. Elena noticed. And slowly, the culture shifted. Years from now, when Thomas would be 68, he would remember that morning. The laughter. The phone call. The stillness that followed. He would remember how close he came to becoming someone he did not want to be. And he would remember Isaiah Brooks, standing steady, calling whoever he wanted. Sometimes life humbles us in quiet ways. Not with storms, but with a single voice on the other end of a line. For those of us in our 50s and 60s, we know the lessons that matter most often arrive wrapped in discomfort. And if we are wise, we listen. This story is shared here on the Black Voices, a place where dignity, respect, and human connection still matter. If this story touched you, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Your voice matters here. And together, we keep these stories alive.